I'm Dr. Fred Ogola. I'm a professor of strategy and decision making at Statmos Business School. This week we saw a cabinet circular discussing about the Hustler Fund, terms and conditions, limits, and the rest. In this week's segments, I want to tell you, Kenyans, that why Hustler Fund needs to rethink. First of all, let me tell you what. Let us not throw away the president's wishes just as if you can throw a baby with bathwater. The president's wish is actually legitimate, but of course we need to make it well thought out, and then how can it be executed? Remember when President Uhuru Kenyatta came up by saying every child in primary and secondary school should have a laptop. He didn't really mean literally they should have a laptop, but after COVID-19 hit Kenya, we discovered that had we taken the president's advice that we need to digitize education, we could have not just focused on laptop per child, but focus on digitization of education. Because of course, communication, people take what they want. So the Hustler Fund is a welcome. In fact, I've been part of the team thinking and rethinking how the Hustler Fund can work. But looking at the cabinet circular, let me tell you why this cannot work. The first and foremost, they talk about the fund limit, which does not make sense. 500 shillings to 50,000. But from research which I've done, the real gap in funding in Kenya, in Africa, mostly is between 250,000 to 500,000 Kenya shillings. Maybe you can say the hustlers don't fall in this category, but nevertheless, that is what actually is the main fund gap, because we don't have to leave alone where the fund is needed and take it where it's not needed and take it where it does not make sense. The funding makes sense in Africa in a gap between 250,000 and 500,000. So of course, if this is the case, then the need from 500 shillings to 50,000 shillings, leave it to chamas, leave it to fintech, because I've just calculated the transaction cost of this money and found that it does not make sense. Let me put this clearly. One of them, they say you need to form a group. Now, to form a group, it costs you around 10,000 Kenya shillings to form a group, because the groups have to come together, people have to travel, and in fact to have a registered group. I don't mean forming a group by sitting down. They mean by registering a group. When I was campaigning in Uganda, I used to give people around 10,000 shillings to help them in the group registration. So after that cost, we talk about they talk about you have to draft a business plan. As a strategy consultant, the cheapest business plan I've seen can be around 200,000 shillings if you're getting something meaningful. But if you're just writing something to pass, let's say to get a loan, which won't help you execute, then it can be as little as you want. But I believe that the cheapest business plan that can actually make sense will be around 200,000 Kenya shillings. So after that, we talk about getting the certificate of good conduct. For example, if you want to get in Siaya, you want to get in Nyeri, there must be a bit of some travel. Even if in here in Nairobi, if you go to CID headquarters, you have to travel. I don't think anybody can spend less than 1,000 shillings when they want to get a certificate of good conduct. The second cost is getting 4 guarantors. Now, if you are a hustler, by the name hustler, already you are branded in a way. To get 4 people who can be guarantors for you, I think that is a tall task. But at the same time, looking for guarantors, it may cost you around 2,000 shillings in transport, maybe in airtime, name it. So that's 2,000 shillings, of course. Risking jail, because you have to sign a affidavit that should you default the government, you'll be jailed. Now, I'm looking at the cost of that by looking at what's called a bond. Should I be in jail for having borrowed money from the government and defrauded the government, I may need a bond minimum 50,000 shillings. So if you add all these costs together, plus the cost of opening bank account, because you must open one, maybe the transaction cost, whatever you need, transport, everything else will cost 1,000 shillings. And then you have to produce a KRA PIN. Most of these people don't know how to use internet. So they'll go to internet cafe, pay somebody 200 shillings to be given a KRA PIN. So that's 200 shillings. All that cost will be 34,000 shillings in terms of transaction cost. If you add 50,000 shillings of risking, going to jail, of getting a bond, that's going to be 84,000 shillings. So where on earth would I go for a deal that can cost me 84,000 shillings looking for 50,000 shillings? That's why it does not make sense. If you look at all these things, The Hustler Fund has just tried to do what banks do. Because as a banker, we are what we call the 4 C's. The first C is character. That's why you're looking into certificate of good conduct, to know whether you have a good character or not. Getting guarantors to check whether you are somebody of good standing. They say you must also go to your relative to also guarantee you. So you see, that is just looking at your character. Can you be trusted in society? Can you get people who trust you, can put their signature against a loan you want to take? Then secondly, collateral. Collateral here, these people who are called hustlers, I don't know which collateral are. Some I've seen, for example, 1 acre fund was even counting people's sufurias, bicycles, how many cows you have, sofa sets, and the rest. I don't know which collateral they're going to have, but let me wait and see which collateral. But this has not asked for collateral. Nevertheless, they have used guarantors to secure the loan. Cash flow. That's why they're asking for a business plan. So cash flow, normally you should submit a bank account to show how your bank account has been moving. That also has not been looked here, but that's a very important thing to know, whether this person has been having people sending money to them and them sending money to others, receiving money and also spending money. And lastly, capability to pay. That's why they're asking for a business plan. Are you putting this money in a viable business? But the worst part of this is that we have to understand the Kenyan culture. If you go to government fund and get this money, 50,000 shillings, on your way from receiving this money, you get a call that your mother is sick. Normally in Africa, you'll take this money to give your mother, because these people have no health care, these people have no proper housing, these people have no education. So before we sort out those issues and they are well aligned, it will be very difficult to find this money working. So the risk of failure for me is very high, and therefore we urge the government, let us rethink this. Let's not be in a hurry. Let us just rethink it and get the model right. Your intentions are great. The execution is not making sense. Thank you.